What we're gonna go through are a couple of quite basic ideas, so no rocket science. But at the end, I hope I can show you how they fit together and why they make up together this game-changing way of scaling inside a large organization, producing software or different services. So we are talking about knowledge workers in each case. And this is kind of a challenge. And we know that there are many frameworks out there which are trying to give an answer to this challenge. So how to make these big organizations more agile, how to make them more speedy. So the journey typically begins with a single team. This one in the middle, you see like nine members on the team, nice and cozy, and the company is kind of successful. So it tries to grow. It has a lot of reasons to do so because the demand is just jumping in the sky. So let's grow. So what happens after there's not just one single team, but maybe the second team, and maybe there is a soon after third team. So what we typically do, and this is the current state of thinking, we have 3 teams, and we have to make sure that these 3 teams kind of stay connected, kind of stay aligned. So what we do is we provide another level. At this level, we try to make this level a connecting element so that some people of those teams are part of that level too, and they are talking to each other on that level in order to stay in sync, in order to stay aligned. So very basic, very easy idea, very old idea. This is the way how we scale. So we have this kind of organization. What we actually do, we are doing nothing different from distributing an ownership, right? So not only because the number of interaction points is kind of climbing in the sky, but also we have a notion of this cognitive load. So once the team has just too much of a cognitive load to absorb, we make it 2 teams. But basically what we are doing is distribution of ownership. Ownership of what? Well, ownership of a code base, ownership of some applications, ownership of some topics, some disciplines, some rules. So we distribute ownership. That's what we do. And since we distribute ownership, everything gets fragmented, right? And we try to kind of tie together with these things on boards and imposed ad hoc meetings I'm going to talk about later. But once we do so, then let us take a look at what's happening in delivery. In delivery, we have, again, a very, very easy picture where we have our delivery backlog, having mentioned epics, features, and stories. Why? Well, look, why do we have those? We have fragmented our organizations in small boxes, right? So we need to kind of cut the stuff to deliver to fit our organization. So what we have are epics, which are overarching. We have features we would typically spend just only over art, so agile release training according to SAFe. We have stories. Story is something which is in a single team. So because we have fragmented our organization, we have to fragment also the stuff inside of our delivery backlog. Once we fragment the stuff inside our delivery backlog, we have, of course, cross-team and cross-level issues. You see right here. So this is why we have it. If we had only one team, there will be no cross-team issues. And if we have only one level, there would be no cross-level issues. So we need to cope with them. And how we do it in this red world, and I'm talking about this red, very conventional world of scaling, we have, as I told you, those PI plannings, those things, those boards, and many of those imposed ad hoc meetings. What I mean by that? Ad hoc meeting is everything which goes beyond a regular meeting, like a art sync, for instance, because it's ad hoc, right? It's not happening on a weekly or monthly basis. You have to just invite some people. And by inviting some people to resolve some questions or to think about some stuff, you are actually imposing this topic to those people, on those people. right? Because you invite them, you kind of make use of their time. And they are probably kind of hoping that there will be some great stuff to discuss, to decide upon. So they follow your invitation, come in, and then you have kind of a lot of such meetings. We can just picture one single week within your organization. It's a big organization that we know. The number of such meetings inside of that organization during a week is not 3 or 4. It's probably like 50 or 500 or maybe 5,000, given your size. You can guess the numbers in your organization you have in front of your eyes. So we have some number of meetings happening during a week, and then we can ask the next question. The question is, so how many of those meetings have the right people attending? And probably you will also think that not all the meetings have the right people on it. Because what? Because there is a physical capacity for the number of meetings inside of your company during some week where the right people can physically attend, right? You have just 8 hours a day, you have 5 days a week, and you cannot just clone people. So the Peter can be at one time really at just the one meeting attending. So there is a physical capacity, and typically this capacity is not enough. It's not enough for the number of meetings you want to have. So typically you would invite people. Typically you would have to sacrifice 1 or 2 of them because well, they are not available, but still you need to have that issue resolved. So you have that meeting, even knowing that you don't have all those participants you would like to have. And then we have the third one, the third bar, which is a right outcome. So how many of those meetings have the right outcome? So the decision could be made, the information is spread, and we achieve all the goals of the meeting we had in mind. So this is kind of a stair, right? It's stairs. Number of meeting, both those of them which have right people on it, and those of them which really resulted with the right outcome. And those stairs are typically quite steep. I don't know how about you guys, but organizations I know have these stairs very, very steep going. And if you have these stairs steep going, then it means that many of those meetings, that's exactly the difference here between the right outcome and number of meetings. All of those meetings, they're causing a lot of complexity. They are leaving a lot of loose ends behind. They are just causing confusion, right? So all of these issues they are causing are adding up to these cross-team and cross-level issues, which is just coming up, right? A lot of confusion, a lot of complexity. So now we have kind of a number of cross-team and cross-level issues, which are little questions about understandings, little points to clarify, maybe some estimates to do, maybe some architecture to get challenged. And these are holding you back, of course, because there's like, if you have a delivery backlog consisting of, let's say, 100 items, it could be stories and features and epic, I don't care what, 100 items. So what do you think? How many of these little things you have to clarify in order to get these 100 items delivered? It's probably not another 100. It's probably like 1,000, And typically, you wouldn't have these little things inside of your delivery backlog. In there, you have stories and features. You don't have something like now you have to go to architect and think about what's the real messaging technology for this one, right? You don't have it inside as an item. That's something completely different. You do not pollute your backlog with these little stuff, but this little stuff is still there. So if we take a look now at the velocity or the speed in which this little stuff get really resolved, then you probably agree if I say this speed must be much higher than the speed of your delivery backlog, right? Because there are so many more items inside of this little backlog, which is like having all those cross-team, cross-level issues, all those dependencies. So you have to speed up a lot because you have to be ahead of your delivery backlog speed. If you don't do that, of course, if you have delivery backlog traveling at speed which is higher than that one of cross-team, cross-level issues, what happens after? Well, tons of technical debt, a lot of failed deadlines, a lot of failed releases, a lot of misunderstandings, well, all sort of mess you can imagine. So that's why, and now we are moving into this blue zone. The blue zone is a different mindset, different style of thinking, a different style of scaling. So let's have this backlog of these little cross-team and cross-level issues also in a kind of backlog. And we call this backlog a topic backlog. And this is a notion out of RIPE. So what we say is, if you have something to get clarified or resolved, and which is a cross-level or cross-team issue, then you have to place it into a so-called topic backlog. And topic backlog must have a speed which is fairly high in order to process all those issues and get them back in a clarified state. So you have this cross-team and cross-level alignment at the end in order to have your delivery going smoothly, going fast enough. How we do that? We have this notion of, look, let's don't impose those meetings anymore. Let's not take each and every of such issues and try to invite some people to some cozy meeting to have that resolved. Let's don't do that, because if everybody does this, then what happens is this stairs, right? Because if everybody invites anybody and everyone anytime for anything, then what happens is your agenda is just filled with meetings. We apply a different kind of thinking. And this is what we do, or what our customers do, right? So what we say is, if you have such a cross issue, then please do not invite to a meeting. You are even not allowed to invite for a meeting. But let me explain how it comes to RIPE Day. We are collecting topics, right? So this is again a iterative process. Single iteration would run typically a 1 week. That means weekly there's this RIPE Day going on. So you have this, you collect the topics in your topic backlog, wherever they might come from. What you have is a special date. If the RIPE Day would happen on Thursday, maybe on Wednesday, so day before, you had so-called intake. That means at this point in time, all those topics which are piling up for the Thursday, so for the next RIPE Day, have to be inside of the backlog. So what we do after, centrally, of course, we have this host role of the RIPE, and the host role is responsible for definition of ready check. That means this role looks at all those topics which are piling up, and the person would check if these topics fulfill the definition of ready. Typically, a definition of ready is the topic is small enough, the topic is very, very clear what's the goal of the topic is relevant, well, it's well described, and so on and so forth. So that's just definition of ready, right? All those topics which are not meeting those criteria, the host is authorized to disqualify. That means those topics will not be handled at the RIPE Day, or not yet, right? So what happens next? Next, we have this RIPE day. And for those of you guys who are familiar with Unconference, it's very easy to follow, very easy to understand. What we do is at the beginning is pitch and plan. That's the point where all those people from that organization, it could be 50, 100, 150, 300, 400 people come together, and they take a look at what's inside of the topic backlog. And they will try to set up an agenda where all those topics are distributed over sessions, time slot, and time track. Typically in an organization where like 250 people come together at one of our customers' sites, they would have like 25 to 30 topics every single week, which are piling up. That's the out of experience numbers, so that you have kind of a clue how many of those topics are on the table. Once you design the agenda, then you go off and you run the sessions. The sessions are, of course, according to a conference format or open space technology format. So low of 2 feet. In this case, it's time box, and so on and so forth. That's just little details how they are run. But all of them are authorized to decide, since all the people which are needed to have a good, well-founded discussion of the topic are there. So there is no reason to postpone the decision. So all of them are authorized due to or because of a law of 2 feet. This is okay and completely fair. So what happens typically is, as you see here, this is the same organization as the one before, right? I just got rid of the boxes. And some frameworks have circles instead of boxes, right? So Holacracy has circles. Doesn't make it better, right? It's still fragmentation. So let's get rid of those boxes. Let's have just the people, and let's realize that those sessions you want to run, are not sessions which are, kind of running along the lines of your boxes. No. You want the right people. That can be that you have 4 sessions in parallel where you have the session 1, session 2, session 3, and session 4, and all are run parallel. They employ just a very small number of people because only those small number of people are really the right people to tackle those challenges inside of those sessions. So it's just absolutely okay. And this is a very big strength of Unconference as a format, right? So you have many sessions on that RIPE day, a lot of decisions going on that RIPE day, because each session is authorized to decide, because each session has all the right people inside. And this is the way how you achieve a speed. Because what? Because you have no traffic jam, no jam of decisions. All of decisions are being taken at very, very high speed because of this format. And of course, you have also agility. But because, the way that people come together is very, very agile. If you have a look at this picture will change from time slot to time slot. It will also change from week to week. So your organization have completely different shape each and every week. So this one, which is very stable and very clear with those boxes and circles, will change its shape totally. What is the driving force behind the shape of an organization? Any idea? Well, probably the only driving force are those topics, right? Because the people are gathering around topics and not the other way around. So it depends from the character of your topics, which people will gather around them at that particular week. That's it. So your organization shape is changing dependent from your topics. And the topics come from where? Well, they come from delivery backlog, right? And the delivery backlog comes from where? It comes from the market. So your organization is copying the market forces. Each and every week, it has a different shape, and the shape is always the one which is fitting the market needs. So this is the big, big game-changing stuff I would like to underline so much. So any organization which is in kind of this shape, it doesn't mean if it's circle or quadratic, it doesn't mean at all. Is an organization which is stable. That's an organization which is built for stability. We have these team topologies, right? It's a great pattern, but this pattern is built for stability. You distribute ownership over teams. You have these streamlined teams, and I don't know, the enabling teams, all those great patterns of teams, but it's still stable. And yes, those teams are changing a little bit over time, and it's good, it's great, but it's still distribution of ownership. It doesn't have anything but nothing to do with market forces, nothing at all. And the second one, as you see here, we have a lot of people, but not that many interactions, right? We have just 1, 2, 3, 4 interactions among like 4 or 5 people. So the stuff we were learning here before, like with a climbing number of people, you will have like exponential number of interactions. No. That comes from the old mindset. It's not true. In the blue world, it's not true. So don't be shy and don't be scared of like a large number of people getting together, because if you play it in a format which is, for instance, on conference or these RIPE days, then it's very, very efficient. Many organizations, they have like a big respect for these big events like PI planning or big room planning, right? There's so many people coming in, and this is so costly. It's so expensive, and they say, well, we have it once a quarter, and it's a high spend issue. And I keep telling them, no, that's not the point. The point is you have to configure and live that format for large group events a different way. So just imagine, just think with me. We have these PI plannings, right? These PI plannings, I'm sure you guys know that. That's a format which is very well known. So what you do is, at PI planning, you have like 2 forms or two patterns of interaction. The first pattern is the whole group pattern. Everybody's in the room, and you are talking to the people. You are telling them something. You are explaining strategy. You are explaining architecture, runways, whatever. So people are there, sitting and listening. You are talking. And the second pattern, and there's no only second one, is, you probably know it, are these teams breakouts. Okay, so what you do is you have all those people there, and what you do, you send them back to their boxes, to their team boxes right here, so that they can have discussion on their team issues, and maybe they can visit each other in order to resolve dependencies. That's a completely broken idea, right? Don't do it. Don't force the people into the boxes again. You have them all there. You have to let them gather around topics. So please leave the boxes behind. They are good for stability. They are good for governance. They are very good for a lot of stuff, but they are not responding well to complex issues. So what happens after you bring the right people together for better, faster decisions each and every week at the RIPE day, we have this checkout. So at the same day, the day is closing by checkout. In checkout, you get all those people together again for just very, very short section where all those topic owners are presenting their outcome, right? So all of those sessions which fulfill definition of done, so which are really got done, present all those outcome, all those insights to everybody. So this is no more like we are talking about, but this is about we have decided that. Okay? All those sessions which were not able to reach definition of done, the topics of them, we're not able to reach definition of them, are not presented at checkout, of course, because there is no point in trying to talk about some loose ends and causing confusion on injecting confusion in your organization with a halfway clarity. So we don't do it. What we do is all those topics which are not quite ready, not quite completely handled, they get back to the topic backlog. That's it. It means this topic is back to the backlog, and the topic might come again in 1 week time, maybe, as a topic which is trying to get pitched and planned on the drive day. So that's why, and now I'm getting to the left-hand side, what we have in this blue world are 3 concepts. The first of all is the concept of right people capacity. As I told you before, the companies are used to like ignore the right people capacity. They held much more or many more meetings than they are supposed to have, because you cannot clone people, right? This is due to a decentralized way of conducting meetings. You cannot have a control over this. If somebody is telling me about, well, we are having a better moderation inside of a single meeting, I say that's great, but I tell you what, if you have a meeting better moderated and the meeting will probably be shorter and faster, then all that spare capacity you will generate will be immediately taken by other people, which have also some meetings to invite for. So please don't do it. This local optimization of meeting moderation is just counterproductive. It's counterproductive. Don't do that. You have to have a whole system view on that. So what we do is the right people capacity, which we know. No, we can very, very reliably know and recognize the right people capacity given the topics in that week. As you see here in the red world, you don't know the right people capacity. You just don't know it. It's not possible. That's why it's not possible to have it under control. In the blue world, you know it. Why? Because as you pitch and plan, you will realize how many topics you can have a session on, because the people would intervene and object if there is some collision between 2 sessions, right? So you know that all those sessions are well planned and you are not exceeding the right people capacity on that week. The second one, quality in, quality out. Again, another confusion is the meeting is not well prepared. Of course, the outcome is just rubbish because it's not well prepared. We ensure that the quality at the input is right quality, because if we have this definition ready, if we have a host which is checking all those topics week by week on ready against definition ready. So we wouldn't let any fuzzy, unprepared stuff to get handled on RIPE day. On the other hand, we have quality out. That means we wouldn't leave any topic out of the governance of RIPE which is not really handled to 100%, which doesn't fulfill the definition of done. So we make sure that once something enters a RIPE governance, it leaves that governance first when the definition of done is really fulfilled. And the last one, same important as the first 2, one space of authority. That means we have this host, which is the highest form of power during the RIPE day. Okay, so there can be CEO entering a space, but the CEO has to follow the rules. And at the same time, we have a session which is authorized to decide. So all that authority, so processual authority, governance authority, everything is at that day. So we have no shadow organizations. You have no politics and stuff behind it. Everything is decided on that date in those sessions. That means, just summing up, and then I open the discussion. What we have is approach to, well, we have this red world, and that's completely okay because it has many strengths. The red world is okay to stay, it's perfect, because we need governance where the distribution of ownership is very, very central one. But in order to have this red world really behaving agile and having the right and proper speed also at scale, we need to have this missing piece also added. And this missing piece is the blue world. So taking all those issues which are cross-team or cross-level issues straight directly into the governance of the blue world of this RIPE framework helps our customers to maintain speed and maintain business agility at scale using a game-changing concepts and game-changing mindset. Okay, that was it. Do you guys have any questions, understanding, or any points you would like to raise?
What I didn't maybe understand fully is, so the red world still exists, but this is the way to organize those cross-team issues, cross-team alignment on stuff. But the delivery obviously stays with the teams. There's a scaling factor in there. It's just to clarify those issues between the teams, you would have this RIPE part.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because if you leave it up to the red world to kind of synchronize and align themselves, you will end up in a chaos, which we witness day in, day out.
Yeah. Okay. And so, how can I imagine, or how did this happen? The transition from fully red to red and blue.
Okay.
Did you?
That one is very easy. Well, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, we have quite a lot of experience in that, and this transition is like 3 or 4 weeks. That's the transition time, if you do it right, of course. And the point is, there is a date at which you just flip the system. That means, from that day on, you are not allowed to invite any meeting, any ad hoc meeting for stuff which is under governance of blue. Okay. And immediately all those meetings disappear out of your calendars. So the organization will just take a deep breath. After all, like we have a time never experienced before. That's, like, just this is the feeling of liberty. And all the stuff comes into these RIPE days from this one day on. So it's kind of a cultural shock in a positive way. And what you do is basically you prepare this one day, prepare in 5 of 6 steps, which are handling about, okay, what's the scope of this blue governance? Is it inspect adapt? Is it refinement? Is it something else? What is it? So which of those meetings we have to cut? And you have like a checklist of questions we have to answer. And in the proper change management, we also have a very, very detailed guidance on that. So that's why I say it's easy, because we have seen it so many times already. Yes, please.
So I'm just sort of understanding, because I'm still trying to grasp everything within RIPE. We're keeping sort of the ownership as a hierarchy, but we're moving more towards like an adhocracy when we talk about organizational decision making. The culture of the organization, when we're talking about what we are doing, becomes more of that ad hoc social construct without those formal bureaucratic rules. Instead, we're bringing the right people to the table and making that by opening up the lines of communication and opening it up to everybody rather than keeping the formalized structure. Am I understanding it correctly?
Absolutely. But
Awesome.
let me add on that. It's not only opening, it's also, it's very important, it's also a closing of the old world. You have to, you know, you have to like discontinue something to have something instead of it. That's a big one behind this transition.
From a governance perspective, how you foresee it to be structured? Is it including the key decision makers? How the governance for this blue world is going to work?
Okay, the governance is pretty straightforward.
Okay.
We have, this is a whole group format. That means the whole company, the whole organization is invited to join in. Okay. And all these sessions, each of them is authorized to decide. That means the only rule of governance is, if you want to decide, then if you want to have some influence on decision, go and join a session on the drive day. The second point is, if you want to have something decided, go and submit that into a topic backlog. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm just imagining from a large corporation perspective, will it not result in too many topics, which then become hard to manage, or?
Yeah, look, that's a great question. If you have too many topics, right? Then what happens in the red world? The red world, you have too many topics, too many meetings. You are just, you are jumping above your right people capacity. So by definition, all those topics, which are like big number of those, will be handled by people which are not the right people. So the decisions will be poor decisions, or it's like playing roulette. What happens in blue world? In blue world, you will realize that no, we cannot handle so many topics on that single day. So probably we have to wait a week later, 2 weeks later, until all those topics will get processed. So we are not trying to accelerate something you cannot accelerate. So this is the very, very central point. Like, companies are trying to travel at a speed which is just far beyond of their possibilities, and they are generating this homemade complexity out of that. So there's just a notion of, wow, we have decided so many people, so many stuff, but basically they just caused a lot of confusion. That's it. Good evening to Switzerland, to Canada, and to US. Bye bye, guys.